In today's video, I'm going to be talking about there's no such thing as a gluten allergy. I know that's a big, bold statement to make, but the term gluten allergy is not used by the medical profession. So stay watching and all will be explained. Hi, I'm Mike Hines from JustKnowGluten.com, creator of this channel, Gluten Advice. Now if you like the content, you like the video, why not give it a like or subscribe to my channel. Also, hit the notification bell down the bottom and stay informed. We post videos on here 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday and Fridays. So do pop back from time to time. We'd love to see you. Alright, let's get straight into the content. There are a few misunderstandings about gluten allergies I think we should clear up. There is no such thing as a gluten allergy. Medical science doesn't use the term, and most gluten reactions don't involve true allergic reactions anyway. So what do people mean when they say they have a gluten allergy? We are going to discuss 5 conditions which people sometimes refer to as gluten allergies. Number 1, celiac disease. This is sometimes spelled as Coelic. This may be the best known form of gluten allergy, even though it's most definitely not an allergy. Celiac disease, sometimes also called celiac sprue, is a serious autoimmune disorder for which the only current treatment is a lifelong avoidance of gluten-containing foods. Number 2, non celiac gluten sensitivity. Gluten sensitivity, also known as non celiac gluten sensitivity, is the new kid on the block. When someone who doesn't have celiac disease says they have a gluten allergy, it's pretty likely they mean they have non celiac gluten sensitivity. This is important to remember. Celiac disease and gluten sensitivity are not the same thing. Medical science is just now beginning to recognize that some people who definitely don't have celiac disease nonetheless definitely do experience nasty symptoms when they consume foods that contain gluten. The problem being that the symptoms are very close to celiac disease, making an accurate diagnosis a bit of a challenge. Again, the same as celiac disease, the only treatment for non-celiac gluten sensitivity is to avoid gluten. Number 3, gluten intolerance. This is the term that's been used interchangeably with some of the others. For a long time, people said that they had gluten intolerance when they tested negative for celiac disease, but still found that they couldn't eat gluten foods. I'm gluten intolerant. I can't eat gluten, they announced, and the term gluten intolerance grew in prominence, and of course, in Google searches as well. In some cases, the term has been used to mean celiac disease, and of course to mean gluten allergy, which just makes things a little bit more confusing. These days, the medical profession are uniting around the use of the term non-celiac gluten sensitivity instead of gluten intolerance for people who don't have celiac disease but who do suffer symptoms from gluten. Ultimately, the term gluten intolerance will fade away out of fashion eventually. Number 4, Dermatitis Herpetiformis. This is what's commonly known as the gluten rash. Dermatitis Herpetiformis is a red, incredibly itchy skin rash that occurs when you eat gluten. Since many people associate rashes with allergies, it's not a far stretch when people call dermatitis herpetiformis a form of gluten allergy, although it's not a true allergy. Like celiac disease, dermatitis herpetiformis is autoimmune in nature, indicating an attack by your own immune system in response to gluten ingestion. If you have dermatitis herpetiformis diagnosis plus positive celiac blood test, you're considered to have celiac disease as well. Regardless of that, a diagnosis of dermatitis herpetiformis means you need to avoid gluten to keep your rash under control. Number 5. Gluten Ataxia. Gluten ataxia is an autoimmune condition, involves an attack by your immune system on your brain and neurological system in response to consumption of gluten foods, and that's pretty scary. Fortunately, gluten ataxia is quite rare, although it is growing in prominence, but it falls under the overall gluten allergy umbrella. People with gluten ataxia need to follow the gluten-free diet to avoid further neurological damage. Now, I want to talk about wheat allergy, which is a little different to what's called a gluten allergy. Wheat allergy actually is a true allergy, but while some people refer to it as a gluten allergy, the allergic reaction actually involves more components of wheat than just the gluten protein. This allergy is more common in children than adults. People who are allergic to wheat need to avoid that grain, but can usually eat barley and rye, the other two gluten grains. So the question is, which one have you got? As you can see, someone reporting that they have a gluten allergy actually may have any one of a bunch of different conditions. Still, there's one unifying factor in all 5 of these gluten allergy manifestations. The treatment generally involves avoiding foods with wheat in them. Food distribution companies and restaurants are all jumping on the gluten-free bandwagon to help appeal to a larger audience. While going gluten-free has been labelled an alternative lifestyle choice for some, others have no choice but to go the gluten-free route. Now, if you're one of the millions who don't quite understand this recent phenomenon, you've come to the right place. Because today we are discussing the parameters surrounding gluten allergies and why they should be taken seriously. Let's start with, what is gluten? Gluten is a protein found in foods like wheat and barley. Generally speaking, those with an aversion to it experience a blockage in the absorption process. This causes a host of harmful side effects like upset stomach to lack of concentration. Unfortunately, gluten can also be found in everyday products that aren't food related. Stuff like chapsticks, lotions and vitamin supplements. So trying to avoid gluten can be a little bit difficult. Who should not eat gluten? People with celiac disease are strongly advised to live a gluten-free lifestyle. Also, children and adults with ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, or other neurological challenges are recommended a gluten-free lifestyle. Are there side effects to eating gluten? There are several side effects on consuming gluten when you're told not to. And here's just a few examples. Depression, acid reflux, asthma, acne, bloating, irritable bowel syndrome. Consuming gluten makes these side effects a lot worse. We are still debating whether gluten causes these problems or just heightens the side effects. What is known, however, is that individuals reportedly experience a worsening of these symptoms when they consume gluten, accidentally or intentionally. So, how do you know if you have a gluten intolerance? Online research is brilliant at times, but it's not always reliable. You should always get a proper diagnosis from your doctor or a healthcare professional. They will perform the necessary tests to determine if you're truly allergic to gluten or you're allergic to something else. You should always pay attention to your symptoms. If you want to test your symptoms on your own, pay attention to how you feel after eating gluten-based products. If you experience lethargy, digestive issues, mood changes, or even problems sleeping, you may have a legitimate cause for concern. Keep track of these changes and report them to your doctor immediately. This will give them a better idea of how to treat your symptoms and provide an accurate diagnosis. It's also good to understand what foods to avoid. when you are diagnosed with gluten intolerance or celiac disease, do a little research on the specific foods that contain gluten. And here are a few examples of those foods: wheat, barley, rye, farina, rice, couscous, gram flour. This is something I stress in all my videos. Do check the label of any foods or drinks you're thinking of consuming. This will give you a better idea of what foods to avoid. So now you're asking, what should I eat? Now, it might seem like your dietary choices are extremely limited. In fact, there are many delicious foods to choose from that don't contain gluten. Foods such as meat, eggs, vegetables, corn-based items, those without the malt, potatoes, fruits. And nowadays, there are several companies who make gluten-free alternatives, and they taste just as good. I mentioned this a few seconds ago. Do check the labels on the packaging and the ingredients. As a whole, a majority of companies who advertise gluten-free options are required by law to adhere to their promises. So, when you're shopping for gluten-free items, it's fairly safe to conclude that a vast majority are okay to eat. Let's just summarize. Gluten is harmful to people with diagnosed aversions to this protein. But do talk to your doctor or your nutritionist to help create the best dietary plan for you. Do have a strong support group around you, whether that be family or friends, and that will help you lead a gluten-free lifestyle with ease. Hello, I'm Mike Hines from JustKnowGluten.com, creator of this channel, Gluten Advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's video on there's no such thing as a gluten allergy. I do hope the video was interesting and informative. If you like the content, why not give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Again, thank you for watching, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye bye for now.